So there's Caleb. He's busy cutting down some weeds that were growing up underneath the stairs here on the sides of this woodshed. And so I told him one of his chores today was to go out there and cut some of the weeds down. So that's what he's doing. He's clearing that away. Kind of just give an overall nice appearance to the woodshed. Seems like lately we've had a number of spots on Caleb that indicate chiggers. And so he's had some chigger bites, and I think Joshua may have had a few chigger bites. I have found a few ticks on me as I move around the homestead, and it's been about 2 years since we really had a dedicated flock of guineas. The guineas that we had last time, the real dedicated flock, the last real dedicated flock that we had did a tremendous job at keeping the chiggers and the ticks down, decimated the population. And because of that, we haven't had a problem really in the last couple of years. But with the increase of chigger bites and tick bites, something must be done. And so we're going back to the old, I just got a biting fly, it bit my hand. Ouch. Everything that grows in this country will either bite you, stab you, or stick you. I got that from a John Wayne movie. If you know the John Wayne movie I'm talking about, go ahead and post it below. Anyway, so because of that, because of this increase in violence on the homestead, we have to call out the big guns. It's the Expendables. Some new residents here on the homestead. This is the next generation of the guinea flock that will patrol the homestead and wreak havoc on the tick and chigger population that we have here on the homestead. So we're very excited to have these guys here, and what they're going to do is go ahead and grow up a little bit. Obviously they have about 6 weeks they're going to be inside this guinea coop, and it's a small space. And at that point they will, at a certain point, when they reach a certain age, in about 6 weeks or so, they will be let loose to roam the homestead. And these guys will basically start off in a very small pattern of just coming out on the first day or so of around this coop, and then they will start to do a spiral effect, and that spiral will get larger and larger and larger as they begin to patrol and roam around the homestead. And with it, they will be eating all of the ticks and all of the chiggers that they encounter. They are a tremendous They provide a tremendous benefit to clearing ticks and chiggers on a homestead, completely decimating any population that you may have. They're also called the Expendables because they are an expendable commodity. We have long called them that. I think Tim coined that phrase, and Tim went out the other day and got 15 new guineas. And so these guineas are going to be part of that process of ridding the homestead of the ticks and chiggers. But because they are expendable, when they reach a certain age, the females will begin to nest out in the open or in the woods. And when they start nesting in the woods, the males will not come back to the coop every night. Okay, they will try to stay out with the females. And at that point, those females will begin, and males will begin to get picked off by predators. Okay, so they're an expendable commodity, but by the time they're all dead and gone, and the predators have taken their toll on these birds, they will have decimated the population of ticks and chiggers to a point where it will take a long time for that population to recover. Thus, they have done their job. So this is basically the coop that they're going to be staying in for the next 6 weeks. Once they reach that certain age, if you can see, there's that door down there. That door will be opened up, and then they'll come out. It may take them a day to even explore because they're very fearful. It may take them a full 24 hours to come out and explore their new surroundings. And then every night they'll come back in there because we'll give them a little bit of feed, and then we'll lock that door. But that time, when those females begin to brood, they begin to nest, they start nesting out in the woods. At that point, it's only a matter of time before the predators start picking them off one by one. Once the females are out nesting out there, the males will not come back to the coop. They will want to stay out there with the females, and they also will get picked off. And so, but again, this entire time, they're eating all the ticks and chiggers that they encounter, and you're really seeing a benefit at that point. We call these guineas Expendables. And they do have their downsides. Yes, they are very loud. If you have nearby neighbors, close neighbors, they're not going to like you if you bring home a bunch of guineas. But if you explain to your neighbors that these provide a tremendous benefit when it comes to preventing Lyme disease or Rocky Mountain spotted fever in your neighborhood or on your homestead, then maybe they'll put up with the noise. For me, the noise isn't a big deal. And after about 6 months, those that are left, the noise, they really kind of tone it down anyway. Because they're used to their surroundings, they're used to seeing all the things that are here, and so nothing, their noise just doesn't get set off as easy. Only when something changes in their environment do they start to really become noisy again. So that's kind of the ups and downs of guineas, man. I mean, guineas are just an amazing, you hear about all this stuff right now about Lyme disease. There was an article recently posted about if the Pentagon weaponized Lyme disease and released it in ticks. And so the government is demanding that the Pentagon release information or something like that. And I have long heard this rumor. This is not a new rumor. This is something that's been going on for about a decade. I have heard this before. And so is it true? I don't know. But for those of you in the north part of the continental United States, in the Northeast, Lyme disease is a huge problem. Big problem for you guys. And down here, Lyme disease is very rare actually, but Rocky Mountain spotted fever is off the charts. And so all of these diseases are carried by ticks, and it's something it's very much a concern down here when you get this. And Rocky Mountain spotted fever, for the most part, can be basically limited in scope by antibiotics. But Lyme disease is a completely different animal, and man, that can really wreak havoc on someone's life. And so, in my opinion, I would take guineas and I would just release them all over. I mean, anywhere there's an issue, I'd take guineas and just release them into these places, and they will decimate tick populations, absolutely, almost overnight. So anyway, that's what we got going on. We got a bunch of guineas, and we're going to hopefully use these to take care of our ticks and chiggers that are coming back here on the homestead. Okay, so just real quick, if you want guineas, here's the formula and how we do it and how we raise our guineas to be the most effective. Number one, get guineas, try to get them raised up to adult size, okay, before you release them. Keep them locked up for a minimum of at least 3 weeks so they know where home is. After they've been locked up for about 3 weeks, what you want to do is open them up, let them come out, give them grain again every night so that they know where home is, and they will continue to come back every night to your coop to get that grain, okay, to get that free food, okay. At some certain point, the guineas will stop coming home, usually when the females begin to roost out in the woods or out in the fields or wherever they begin to build their nest to lay their eggs. At that point, you're going to have a real hard time getting them all to come back, because as soon as one stays out, they're all going to want to stay out. And all the females are going to want to nest, and those males will want to stay with those females. And so they will begin to roost in the trees. The males will begin to roost in the trees, and the females will begin to stay with their nest out in the field or in the woods or wherever they've laid their eggs. At that point, the clock starts ticking. Your expendables will begin to get picked off by predators, but at this point, it's okay. The smart will survive. The ones who are becoming streetwise will survive. And if they all die very quickly, it's okay, because what has happened is they have decimated the tick and chigger population on your homestead or on your farm. They're an expendable commodity. They're a great product, asset to have on your homestead, but understand that they're going to have to be replaced. They will not survive. I did have a neighbor over here who he'd been here for a long time, and he has a couple guineas that have been here sometimes, I think, up to 10 years, but those were very streetwise. He would have to replace his flock every year to replace the ones that had been killed by predators, but there was always a couple that were smart that survived, maybe one or two, sometimes none, but sometimes out of every flock he used, there would be one or two that would survive. And so he has a couple of old guineas on his homestead that just seem to survive miraculously from the predators, because they know what to look out for. You may not get that lucky. We haven't gotten that lucky. Eventually they all get killed, or Tim eats them. Tim does do that sometimes. Those guineas taste pretty good. But anyway, that's the idea. Get your expendable commodities. We call them the Expendables here. If you want more information, you can go to our website, How to Get Rid of Ticks Guaranteed. We have the Expendables article on there. You can see it on the screen. And then check that out. Share it on Facebook. Really, I think this is beneficial information that could really help out a lot of people, especially because there's so much concern today when it comes to Lyme disease and Rocky Mountain spotted fever. It's a devastating disease that affects a lot of people. All right, guys, there's our guineas. We're going to get more guineas. We're going to take care of the ticks and chiggers. See you next time on the homestead. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're interested in homesteading or off-grid living, this is the channel for you. Livestock, solar power, gardening, food preservation, and so much more is available in our videos. Subscribe today and check out our Patreon page over at patreon.com/AnAmericanHomestead. And before you go, please check out these other great homesteading videos. Go ahead, click on them. I'll wait.